Yeah, it took quite a bit of steel. Mistake or two. You know, no big deal. Those are strong enough. That was a full propane cylinder at the bottom. So we're good to go. Now to heat it. This is our lamp enclosure, which will go on the bottom of that. So it's all glass in here. Alright, it's kind of foggy and weird. You can definitely see how with this contraption here, there's definitely no way that we're going to have some type of ignition source really inside that cabinet. And then this is kind of the cool part. So this is a thermistor. It's essentially a little tiny thermostat, like the sensing portion of it. And then this is a digital temperature control unit. So this right here will monitor the temperature inside the cabinet and turn that light on and off depending on what the temperature is in there. So if I want it to never get below 40, set the minimum value to 40, you know, and then it'll kick the light on if it starts to get down that low. If I want it to shut off at, 60, then once it reaches 60, it'll shut the light off. So this will be pretty nice to have, and these are pretty cheap too. I think I paid 16 bucks for this. So pretty neat. It's 110 volt, so back here you would plug in all your connections, so power line coming in, out to the light, that kind of deal. So that's it. Let's put it together. Really not going to worry about painting any of this stuff. It's not that important at all to me. So what I'm thinking is this thing's going to go over here in this back corner, and that's where the light will be. There we go. Should be good. Right there. Now this is, like one of those electrical clamps. So we screw it in there. The idea is to have the wiring come down and then exit out the back. So we're going to poke a hole right through here, drill it out. These things are pretty sweet. These are little dies for cutting panel holes for electrical. So you drill your pilot hole and then you essentially just crank this thing down and these jaws just cut through the sheet steel and leave a hole big enough for this. We thread this thing up through the bottom. This is the only one I've got, so I don't have any other sizes. It could use to be a little bigger, but you know, this is all I have. Might have to do a little trimming for these ears to fit through, but I don't know, we'll just have to see. I don't know where I got this Greystone crescent wrench type deal, adjustable wrench, but this one feels nice. There we go. And this is how you cut holes in sub panels and stuff if you're doing home electrical, so this stuff will fit through. This size is for the larger diameter one. I got one, hang on. Alright, so this is the Big Daddy conduit deal. If you've never used one of these, you put it in a box like where one of these would go, and then you can crimp down on your Romex and hold it securely. So I'm going to put that at the bottom, and then that's going to securely hold our wires together so that they can't jiggle around. I'm going to secure them with that. I'm going to put this thing on through here. Notice I'm all bundled up. It's like 36 degrees now here. If you hear the fan, that's the fan on the wood burning stove. There we go. Now once I clamp this stuff down, it'll clamp on in there, keep this from vibrating. Genius! So we're going to use some riv nuts to hold this thing in place. So I'm going to go get the riv nut thing. We're going to riv nut it. This is what we're going to use to power the thing. This is an extension cord, or not an extension cord. This is just an old cord off of a vacuum cleaner. So it doesn't have a ground. This doesn't need a ground. Alright, I was asking old Mortske what the best route to go with this, and he suggested these Scotch clips. He loves them. He says that he loves finding them on all the cars and trucks. They always work great. They don't corrode. And I mean, he's the Scotch clip master. So anyways, we're going to put all of our wiring together with Scotch clips in honor of, you know, Mortske, because he likes them so much. .1024 stainless steel. Perfect. Man, riv nuts are awesome. All right, since you know, this little area here has to contain these wires to keep them from vibrating and stuff, I just cut a little piece of vacuum line, which will be good enough. We're just going to slide that over there, push that down in, and tighten this up. In case you don't know, these square heads, square bit, these are used a lot in electrical connections, like residential electrical stuff. Might be in commercial too, I don't know. I don't ever get into that type of stuff. But I've noticed it a lot. Instead of Phillips, they'll use these square head bolts. Alright, I did a little die grinder action on that, just kind of give me a little bit more space. Just couldn't get enough room there to cut this thing off. So now we've got tons of room, everything is good. I'll put the sticker here in the back just so it doesn't look so bad. I guess there's one in the damn front too. Whatever. 150 watt light bulb max. So it's quite a lot more than we're going to use. We're going to use another one of these things on the back of the cabinet to hold the wire in place. It's another day out here in the shop. I had to take a few days off. In this cluttery mess, I managed to twist my knee and had to take a little bit of rest time for that one. Back in my wilder youth, I tore the cartilage out of this knee pretty good on the inside, so it acts up every now and then. On a side note, if anybody knows Mr. T, let him know, I've got a present for him. I pity the food that don't like material management. So I did pretty good on the shelves overall, I think. So we're going to do this today. So I've got all of this wiring. This is old trailer wiring, but it's still, pretty decent size. And I don't think that we need a ton of current capacity, to run a 25 watt light bulb. Who needs one of them fancy fluke meters when you can have one of these beasts? Yeah, the ohm reading on it, basically only dogs can hear the buzzer. It's so high pitched and low. But I have a flip up screen. Fancy. Anyways, it's just one of my fancy looking Harbor Freight things. It's going to work all right. Of course, the leads on the factory, or whatever the stock leads, they blow. So I bought some modular leads online, which are pretty sweet. So you can do different things with those. If you're using meters for anything, I'd highly recommend picking up some of these bad mamma jammas. They plug right into, any of these modular lead ends. You just plug it in to the end of that. But here's the cool thing. You can open them up and close them down. So if you needed to hook onto something, you can just grab onto it like that and let go, and you don't have to worry about your leads falling off or trying to hold these things onto like 2 terminals with your 8 hands and whatever. So definitely get some of these. They're dirt cheap online, and you get all kinds of different ones. The little vampire ones that poke in, little stabby deals. Yeah, those things are great. So, I got this meter out here so I could check continuity between all of these wires, so I didn't just, put in a wire that had like an internal break in it somewhere and then chase that for hours thinking it was this thing. All right, I don't know where we left off on this one. If you saw that it wasn't working or I couldn't get it to work, anyway, I'll show you why. I guess it's my fault. I'm not a huge schematic, genius or anything like that, and I thought that this was wrong. So I've gotten stuff from, China before, these little electronics for 3D printers and you name it, servo controls, all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times I found that these things are all incorrect, at least on the stuff that I got. So the way I thought it worked is you have some breakout boxes or taps here. This is your line in from the wall. This is your, your thermistor. That's the thermostat, the temperature gauge. And then this would be for your heater out and for your cooler out. So if you've got a cooler attached to it, you can cycle on and off coolers and whatnot, or heaters. We're using the light bulb. And the way I thought that this worked is that power would come in, and then it would trip this relay and then open up the circuit and just, power the whole thing and turn the light on. Well, that isn't how it works at all. You have to supply you know, 110, 115, whatever line voltage into this side. And then all that does is control when this thing opens and closes. So you would need to take the hot line. So you need to run your power into this thing right here and then jump your hot line out into here. So this is actually just an open and close switch. It doesn't actually, you know, pull power through the unit and then divert it to this thing. It just opens and closes one connector like a switch. So the neutral line will just go out to the light. So it'll just be a straight through, and then your hot lead will just come out of here, loop back into here, and then right back out the outside. So this would be like the input and the output for this hot lead. So that's it. So the line just powers this box and then trips that thing, and beyond that, it's up to you what you do with it. So I was thinking about using some old junk trailer wiring, but I decided no, I'm going to sacrifice this horrible green Christmas tree light extension cord, because I just can't stand these styles, and it's a horrible color. So we're going to sacrifice this for the good of the community to make our thing work. All right, I had to break out the old school shop soldering iron. These are cheap enough that I don't have to worry about them breaking. Here, got the good old glory days of stuff, right? Paint, gas, solder, made with lead. It's got the lead warning right there, so I'm going to obviously die. This is good stuff. You ever wonder why PlayStations and Xboxes and computers and stuff don't last like they used to? It's because there's not lead in the solder. That's it. So the newer solders don't last nearly as long. They crack and become brittle. So lead if you're repairing old school electronics, or any electronics in my opinion. So people's theories may change or their feelings on it, but lead's the best. Also, use flux. Flux is super important. It is like the grease that makes the wheels of soldering go round. I see a lot of people on the internet just go in with flux core solder and just globbing it on. No, let me show you the way. Flux is the key to it all. So once you add flux, this has acid in it, and once you add flux to something, it basically lubricates the flux and allows it to penetrate and sink in. So if you're super overheating your component or your wires or whatever it is, and you're trying to heat all of this stuff up and make it flow, the solder flow into a nice joint, it's not going to work out for you very well. You're going to burn in all of the shielding back, all the jacket on everything. Man, it's cold out here. But yeah, use flux. I'm going to zoom you on in. Now this is some flux from that tube. I can barely get it out, it's so cold. 40 degrees today. There we go. Flux. Flux comes in all different forms. There's liquids, there's the paste like what I showed you. That one that I was using was probably for plumbing, something like that. You want to use the flux. Look at that. See how it soaks in? It just immediately blends in. It's like the flux is a carrier for the solder. So it just helps it move through the material way nicer and gives you a lot better bond. See it crawl up? Flux! It's magic stuff. So stop using your soldering iron with just solder. Use flux. Tirade over. This is called tinning. If any of you are soldering challenged, tinning is basically just adding a coat of solder to whatever it is. A lot of people like to add solder. Man, I can't see that looking through the camera. Add solder to the tip of their iron. Just go on there. Look at that. Already done. Flux! Then when you're done, you clean your tip with flux. Actually, there's real tip cleaner, but I just add a little bit of flux to it. There we go. Now our tip won't dissolve. If you notice, I don't know why I'm talking about soldering so much to everybody. A lot of times, your soldering guns or soldering irons, the tip will corrode out a lot. You can prevent that by just coating the tip in your solder before you put it away. If you're using it without flux and you're super overheating it and you're trying to burn stuff in, you're going to destroy the tips on here. This tip is probably from 2005 or something. I don't even know when. It's super old. I mean, I can't even see on there what the date is. This tip's super ancient. I've got soldering irons from the 90s that still look fine. You just got to take care of the tip. Yeah, pretend AVE said that and you'll find a joke in there somewhere. I've done a lot of laptop repair in my day, and I couldn't have done it without flux. Okay, here's one more neat thing. This is regular old shrink tube. If I'm sure you know what this is, but in case you don't, you would just cut it to length. You'd slide it over your wire, and then when you heat it up with a lighter or a heat gun or anything, it shrinks down and conforms to your wire and whatever else is in there and makes a jacket for it, so a little protective cover. Now, I was watching Wes Work, which is a great channel, and he uses this stuff. So it's marine heat shrink tube, which if you look at this one, inside it doesn't have anything in it. It's just a tube, right? It's just a hollow tube of, thermoplastic. This one, on the other hand, you might not be able to tell, but it's covered inside in a goo. It's like a slime inside of there. And that slime melts and penetrates and makes like a weather-tight seal. So that's pretty awesome. There, you can kind of see the shiny edge on it. See it right up in here? That's the goo inside. You don't see it in this one at all. See the difference? So this is the marine one. So that, anyway, anything outside, I'm just going to start using this marine, shrink tube, heat shrink stuff. Got it at Harbor Freight. It's going to work good. And there you go. Also, flux, for all of its greatness, it's corrosive. So you want to try to clean it off the best that you can. Use rubbing alcohol or Everclear, whatever you got on hand. Alcohol works good. Or you can get actual flux cleaner if you want. All right, so this is the setup. Both of these are jumped. I'm just taping together for testing purposes. I'm gonna solder these connections. So you got your hot line coming in, jumped over, which then goes out to the hot side of the bulb. The white comes in and just gets passed through to the neutral side of that. So now I'll plug it in. We'll either have a fire or this will work. Trip the circuit breaker on 1, 2, 3. Look at that. All right, I figured it all out. All right, so the way that this thing works is temperature set is your desired temperature that you want to maintain, okay? So you would hit, if you get this thing, I don't have affiliate links or anything like that. Temperature set, 65 degrees. That's the ideal temperature range for testing that I want this thing to be at, right? The cabinet. So I'll set the temperature. Set the temperature, it stays 65 degrees. There you go. So we go up to D set, which is how much of a swing above and below 65 degrees do I want this unit to have control over. So I have it set it at, what was it, 10 degrees? Okay, so roughly in here right now, it's hovering right around 53 degrees, something like that. Now, it's heating right now because it wants to bring it up to 65 degrees. So if we turn this thing, into our little hand oven here, man, I can't talk. If we want it to come up, there we go. As soon as we hit 65 degrees, it shuts off. If it goes up too much higher, you'll see it'll start cooling. So I think it's 10 degrees higher than that. So what was it, 75, whatever it was. There we go. Now we're on cool. So if I had a cooler hooked up, it's thinking it's too hot above that threshold of 10 degrees. So it has to cool down. So now I'll put it on the floor underneath the super old channel locks. Things are the best. And now when it comes down to 55 degrees, it should kick on the heater. See, cooling went off, So it's within that threshold. There's no more cooling needed. It's at our optimal temperature. It brought it down to 65, so the cooler would have shut off if we had a cooler attached to it. So now it's going to plummet down, hopefully 55, and this thing will kick on. There we go. I'm pretty excited that it works. I'm going to go ahead and install it in the cabinet. I'll show you whenever I'm all done. Man down. Ugh. Snagged it with the airline and pulled it off the bench. That blows. Now I got to sort those. All right, so this is basically it. I've got to make a little shroud for the top there where the little control unit goes. Just a little tiny, square of steel. Zip it down. Fill a couple of holes back in here with some insulation. Seal it up. I did drill these 4 holes in each shelf. I don't know if it'll actually make a difference or not, but I would imagine it couldn't hurt. I don't have the globe on the lamp yet, and I've got this kind of hanging out, so I'm going to put it probably here, hanging from the shelf somewhere, mounted up in there. So there's these zip ties that screw in, and then there's some that stick on, and there's like little zip tie things. I'm going to get some of those so I can tuck these things back against here. Maybe get the adhesive back zip tie ones or the screw-in ones and just come in through here. I don't have any of those right now, so it's just going to have to do. Other than that, it's pretty clean. So we're going to go over here and plug it in. And hopefully it works. Heard it click. Got a light on. Sweet. So 53 out here is what it's saying, 53.1. And it's on heat. So the lower dot there means heat, obviously cool. So over here, right there, it's 53 degrees. So what do we have it set at? 60? 65? There we go, 66 degrees. And she's off. I did wash this thing out. It's nice and clear now. We'll wait for this thing to normalize. Cage comes right off. We tighten those screws down, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Just going to wait for it to come back on. And there you go, 55 degrees. There are a couple little modifications I got to do to this bottom corner where the cables go down, and these have adjustable feet, or this has adjustable feet on each corner. I tried moving them, but they're rusted in place, and the concrete there is pretty unlevel, so it looks a little, kind of lopsided right now, but I'll have to tip that thing back and try to get those feet to move. But yeah, tomorrow, it's like 10:30 at night right now or something like that, I will cut that little notch out and then we'll basically be done. So there you have it. One heated cabinet for basically cheap, using just everyday stuff that you can buy everywhere. These cabinets are available on Marketplace and, basically everywhere for, all kinds of different prices. Some of them are dirt cheap like this one. I think I paid $35 for the cabinet. And then I've seen other ones that were really expensive. But essentially you can make it as big as you want, just using one of those incandescent bulbs as a heater. That I'll put a link in the description of what that temperature control unit is, and then you guys can buy one if you want. I don't have affiliate links or anything like that, so if you do want one, it's just, you're buying it from Amazon or whatever. But yeah, I hope you liked it. Hope it keeps the stuff from freezing for you if you decide to make it. Hopefully it'll work out. I mean, this isn't my idea. I've seen it, online for years, and it works for the other people that have made it, so I'd assume that it's going to work fine for me. That's a 40-watt light bulb. I think that might allow the temperature to kind of come up faster, now that there's a cool electronic control. Before I was going to use the 25-watt and just let it run, and it would just rip constantly, and I figured the 25-watt would be enough to basically keep the cabinet hot even if it had a lot of leakage. But with the temperature control unit, I don't know, I guess we just have to see how it works out. 40 watts should bring it up to temp faster and keep it there quicker, longer, I guess, whatever. So, hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments what you think of it, and I will catch you on the next one. Come hang out with me on Instagram, Half-Ass Garage over there. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.
Hi, all I want to do is make Christmas a joyous time of year. What are you doing? Ah!